Cool. So it looks like we're up and rolling. Hello and welcome. If you're watching this on demand after the fact, or if you're tuned in now, I'm just working on finishing up this song. I've been working on it for a couple months here, and I'm just finally getting around to kind of bridging together these two sections. I had an idea earlier this week that I felt really strongly about. Hadn't gotten to the computer and worked with it yet, but I have a synth bass that has been going throughout this song. It sounds like this. Kind of some like extra ping pong delay stuff going on there. And I like that general tone. I just thought I'd move forward into. I had an idea to add a step filter into it just on a single solid note. With this song in particular, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, doing something like that. Felt like really worked with the pulse well. It's a really common rhythm that I like to use. It's kind of the dotted, and then just a normal straight two, so 3 3 2, kind of that pattern. But it works really well here. Kind of suits the feeling of the song and the particular subject matter of the song that I want to do. Just thought I'd give that a shot. So I downloaded just a free step filter that I found online. I didn't really have one, but there are a lot of free VSTs out there that are good resources, and you don't have to shell out a bunch of money in order to get the sounds that you really need. Oftentimes, and this one I just found, and it's a little finicky to try and work with into the workflow, but it sounds really good. I was able to get a square wave kind of filter thing going on with a really high resonance curve. So you heard that first bit there, but now I'll show you just what this step filter sounds like. Sorry, muted myself there. That in and of itself has some movement, has some rhythmic pulse to it, away from actually playing the notes. It's just a filter sweep, and that's kind of useful. I'll start this whole section here just to kind of show the general the movement there. So that there, it's kind of acting as a bridge. You can kind of hear the idea generally, bridging these two sections, going into this big riff. That's the thing, is that riff that was playing right there at the end there, that was kind of the first big idea of the song where I felt like, okay, this riff works. I want to make sure to put this somewhere and make sure it's built up the right way to hit as hard as it possibly can. And now I feel like it's kind of, the pieces are starting to fit together from the intro section, kind of looking at the full gist of the song. This is what we're listening to, and then back over this way, it's a whole whole other song up there. So I'm gonna be just trying to build out this bridge section, kind of adding some layers, messing with this step filter in different ways to alter it. I think I'll probably be messing with the filter curve, messing with the delay that's on there to kind of help disappear into space as it moves into the next section through there, and then also messing with this guitar part, which is very like Mark Tremonti alter bridge. Like that's definitely the cocktail sound. I'm probably gonna go a different direction with it, keep the cocktail, but I think I'll probably go like octave fuzz, like a lower octave whammy, along with some additional fuzz just to make it extra aggressive. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'll be working on. Hopefully we can come up with something cool here, but Haven't heard anything from you in quite some time. How are you doing? I'm doing well. I've been focused. If you're coming to me from YouTube, thank you for tuning in. I haven't done any of the gear stuff or any of the reviews or comparisons in a really long time. I just got really burnt out on it, and I've been moving more towards songwriting and just focusing on music. And this streaming thing, I'm gonna try it out and see how it works. I want to kind of share my songwriting process through here. And hopefully start more conversations around that, because that's personally what I care most about with music. So hopefully there will be more streams and stuff like that coming soon and talking more about songwriting, because we're allowed kind of a very unique opportunity, especially in the current pandemic and everybody being locked down, being able to have the technology to share these things and talk to people live. It's something that I could see myself really enjoying. So I'm going to give that a shot, but I'm doing well. Thank you for tuning in. Is the idea for the synths in the intro to be in the background and have guitars up front, or is it purely a synth intro? So actually this isn't the intro. I'm showing this to you guys first, but this is a mid section. I'll dig a little bit further back to show the riff that goes into it. But this is like a mid break. It's kind of very influenced by kind of Silent Planet if you listen to them. There's a lot that I take from them, but I'll kind of show you the riff going into it. Also, I'm in a similar position with gear demos. I'm moving towards posting tracks and maybe using captions text to describe the gear. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, I enjoyed doing the gear stuff. Like, it was definitely, I felt like I had, really good content there, and I felt like I was saying things that a lot of other people weren't, but it was kind of coming from more of like a technical standpoint where I was, feeling like I was filling this hole in the market where I could speak honestly about products. And it wasn't really coming from a place where I was personally interested as much, but and I'm not saying that I won't do gear content in the future. I definitely feel like I could, but I feel like it would be more in this live setting, because I felt the most gratification like hearing from people that my videos really helped them in their purchase decisions and things like that. And I think it would be really cool to do that in a live situation where I can compare the gear that people want to hear and do that like in a live situation, rather than me working on a video for a whole week and then putting it out there and hoping that everyone hears what they want to hear. So you definitely cornered the market on the AX8 stuff. Appreciate that. Yeah, that was a really big thing. And the Helix stuff, like, I feel like that was super helpful, and I'm still really proud of those videos. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a transition in figuring that out. And definitely, songwriting is the thing that I'm most passionate about at this point. But I will go back and show kind of the section that goes into this real quick. And that's kind of where we're sitting right now. So I definitely want to add more percussion to this. Obviously, that's just bass alone right now. I don't feel like that's enough to fill that. I don't know if I want full-on drums. I don't know if I want to make it more like electronic drums or heavily filtered, kind of just break it up, because then the way that comes in with this part, the way that drum part sounds really cool on its own. So I feel like any drums that I add to, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but the way that it is right in this section, I might want to figure out a different way to alter the drums there. And also to give my drummer a break when we play this live, because this song is going to be a burner for sure. Gonna pull just a couple hat hits here. Yeah, I'll just get to work here. Thank you, Zach and James. Thank you for joining. Great to see you guys. Thank you for tuning in. See, the tricky thing that I'm dealing with, and this is like super techy and completely unnecessary to talk about, but this, for whatever reason, it's not always, it sets its downbeat, that first one, whenever I hit the cursor, whenever I hit play, that's when it starts its downbeat, even if I'm not starting it perfectly on one. So sometimes the filter sweep is going to be a little bit off. So I'll definitely want to print this eventually, but if you ever hear it slightly being off or whatever, that's probably the culprit. And that's the big bummer right now, is that filter, that synth bass right now sounds so awesome and massive on its own, and then like the demo bass guitar comes in and it's like not even close to as like juicy and fat right now. So it's a little weird in the mix, but hopefully the whole gist still comes through. All right, so I like that hat pattern that I just programmed in, but I don't want it to be on actual drum hi-hats. Since when this fill comes in, I have just like a 2-hat click, and then it's coming in with the full drum fill part that comes in along with that cocked wah guitar. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this hat bit out, maybe print it out or something like that, and then completely mess with it, distort it, kind of make it electronic sounding so it works as digital percussion, so it gives the drummer a break in a live situation, and also works really well in this arrangement. So then the actual drums can come in here basically with. So kind of the goal there is going to be taking away some of the crispness on these currently acoustic programmed hi-hats, kind of taking away some of the top end. So then once the actual drums come in, it's going to be this very clear hit and kind of surprise when the actual drums come in. So I think I'll take the audio of this MIDI, and yeah, we'll see what we can do with it. So here, if you're a Reaper user, this is a helpful trick if you don't know it. Changing the input source, you can just go to output, record the output at stereo, and then I'll be keeping that. Thank you for the tip, Zach. I'll make sure to do that. But then again, I might want to do it on purpose, and just so people, don't leak my stuff, don't leak my sections, man. You know what I mean? Alright, so yeah, I'm going to track that. Shit. So yeah, there's going to be click going, but it's not going to be recorded, so. That's the idea. I just want to make sure I don't get any overhang with this drum part, so I'll try that again. Cool. So now I'll keep this MIDI still. I'll just drag it to another track where it's not going to be heard. And then this will just be standalone audio that I'll be able to mess with. So I'll start doing that now. So this is kind of my starting point whenever I go for distortion or anything. It's called Audio Assault Head Crusher. It's like a free version of Decapitator that I found works pretty well. I don't know if it's actually as good as Decapitator, but it sounds pretty nasty and it does the job. So I'll start working with this on these hi-hats. I don't feel like it's doing enough. I'm going to try something different. All right, so there might be some weird noises that come out of it. Whenever I try to use this is audio assault defacer, and there's some like weird settings that I don't quite understand, and it like sometimes like brings out some weird like monotone buzzing. Don't exactly know why, but we'll see if we can get some with it. Now I've kind of hit a tricky spot here. Since I didn't mess with the panning or anything, these now digitized hats are kind of still living over in the left stereo channel. But I'd rather them either live in the center or maybe even the right, because then when the acoustic drum hats come in on the left, I want that to be a very clear chink chink right as things come in. So I think I'll just monoize these somehow. Hmm. Did you listen to the new Vane release? I can kind of hear that vibe with what you're trying to do. I have not, no, but it's kind of coincidental that it does sound a little bit like that industrialized new metalcore a little bit. Because this song is like it kind of started as very fit for an autopsy type thing, like kind of more that tonality of deathcore. And then I found this middle break, which I've always kind of thought of as like a kind of Silent Planet-y section, but yeah, now that these synth tones are kind of coming in, and that squared filter sweep especially, that definitely sounds like Vane. Good mention, James. Goodness, sorry about that. If that absolutely slaughtered your ears, it hit me too. So, yeah, this plugin is really weird. It puts off some weird sounds if you pull the wrong knobs at the wrong time. But what drum samples are you using? They slap. Thanks, Zach. This is just the original Halpern kit, or the original Get Good Halpern kit. I haven't bought any drum samples since that first Get Good pack because I've been waiting on Will Putney to drop his signature drum samples because he's been like rumoring them and saying they're on the way for a very long time now. So I have not bought anything since that initial bunch. So it's that I've done like a new mix on it recently, like I think back in May, and I've just been copying that over to all my sessions. I'm pretty happy with how it sounds. Obviously, I kind of just use it for demos and stuff. But thank you, buddy. And kind of what I'm gonna gauge the volume of these digital hats on. I'm gonna add some maybe reverb or delay to them to give them some space, but I'm gonna try and match volume with the actual hi-hats. Just so there isn't a crazy, I don't want people to be suddenly taken aback or think that I think of this element any differently than just a normal hi-hat, if that makes any sense. I kind of want it to take that place and transition there seamlessly. Also, another thing that I want to keep in mind in context of the arrangement, it's coming out of this double reverse guitar thing that I put together, which kind of has its own reverb situation going on, and I don't want there to be a sudden shift in space. So what I'm going to be trying to do with the reverb on these digital hats is trying to create the same space and make it so, again, it's a seamless transition and makes you feel like you're still listening to something in the same space. Before the acoustic drums come in, you're like, whoa, what's going on? That's the gist. And well, there may be a very easy solution to this because I kind of have this one reverb. I don't even especially like this reverb, but for whatever reason, I have this in basically all of my song projects and all of the things that I work on with Vacuous is I kind of have I call it the Verby channel, which just has a relatively normal reverb on it that you can just throw effects on whenever you want to give it some more space just quickly, instead of having to sit down and dial through a bunch of reverbs, because that's one of the things that I hate most, is having to work through and dig through a bunch of reverbs. I just have one track where I can throw things if I want a little extra space on it. And to keep things in the same space, these reverb guitars before are folded underneath this reverb, so I'll just go ahead and drag the hats down there and we'll see how it sounds. That's really starting to come together. I think I might add another, maybe some sort of interpolation of these reverb guitars somehow. Maybe stutter them out or something like that to bring them together. But I'll just play this section through as it currently stands. Once again, that step filter is coming in at a weird time, so I'll just go ahead and print that out for now. I'll keep the MIDI, but just print out the audio there so it comes through right on time, and then I can manipulate it that way. So yeah. So I'm going to keep that MIDI there, and then I'll be able to redo that if I want to change the step filter or anything at all. That's there. I'm just setting the velocity down at 0 there, so it won't be playing back. So now I just have the audio, which is correctly step filtered and won't reset on me. So it's a very sudden jump still, so I want to bring these together somehow, and I think I will mess with the guitars that I have down on the bottom there to see if I can stutter them out, maybe find some way to incorporate them with the reverses to kind of find a new pulse to work with 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 that's going on with the bass there. Maybe find a way for the guitars to work maybe along with or in counterpoint to that rhythm. We'll see what we can do just to make it so it's not such a sudden jump down into the step filter bass. So what I'm actually going to try here is a technique that I really like to utilize when it comes to things like this. I am going to drag out a copy of these electronic hats. I'll bring them up just so I can see the level, but then I'll try and level match them here. I'm going to make a reverse out of them to kind of build up and move into this section. And then what I'll probably do to make it all work, I'm going to find one of these longer portions here, cut out kind of everything else. And then so it's a longer reverse, but still kind of moving into that same sort of tonality. I'm going to hit the Alt key and drag, which is just going to adjust the play rate. Well, that sounds insane on its own, but I'll go ahead and drop the volume on that. But that'll kind of help bridge into this section a little bit and to the new sonic texture that's presented by that electronic hat. So in the mix, it's kind of buried up a little bit, but it kind of helps move the section together just so as soon as the electronic hat comes in, it's not all of a sudden a brand new sound that's hitting you at once. I have to go, but before I leave, I wanted to say that I really dig this kind of streams and I hope to see you more often. Keep it up. Thank you. Appreciate you tuning in. All right, so before I move on, I want to take another stab at this cocked wobbit on the guitar. I'm going to re-record this. I already have an idea of where I'm going to move with it, but I'll just show you kind of how I'm going to alter this in the AX8 and how I'm going to move forward with adding this texture. So what I'm taking my normal rhythm tone that I've been using for these demos, which already has a bunch of stuff on here that I'm probably not going to use at the very end, but what's important here is going to be this wah, which I currently have mapped out to my expression pedal, but I'm just going to turn that off because I want, at least for this particular sound, just to be set at that lowest setting, which again is very Mark Tremonti, very heavily inspired by the alter bridge and the type of stuff that he's done with that particular sound. And it's not very commonly used in in metalcore, at least the particular metalcore that I play. I mean, wah pedals in general are mainly used by like lead guitar players and stuff like that who want to do that on solos, and it's not super common. So I think it's a cool texture to incorporate here. So now I'm going to go in and mess with the whammy a little bit just so I can do a simple octave down blend, which is very in vogue nowadays. So I'll go ahead and do that. So that extra octave is adding a little bit to the thickness. Now I'll probably change amp types just because that amp distortion is really taking on its own characteristic and this still sounds a little bit too much like the normal rhythm sound. So I'll probably change that to a cleaner amp or just a different amp, maybe like a plexi style amp, and then hit that with a fuzz just so it sounds radically different in this section. And this is one of my favorite part about dialing in guitar tones like this, which are mainly textural. It doesn't matter how it sounds playing anything other than the part that you're dialing in the tone for, which is a really fun part of using modelers like this and using this sort of technology and creating these textures that might not even be played by a guitar in a live scenario, is that you can go absolutely crazy with it just so it sounds good on particular notes, and then it's like it doesn't matter if you won't be able to riff out on it because hey, it sounds good where it needs to. I think that's working. I might add a little bit of delay in the AX8 to this patch just because I think it could use a little bit of extra space to fit in and not sound so dry. Or maybe I'll find a way to kind of actually maybe adding reverb here actually might help it sound a little bit more dry in a weird way. If I kind of take a lot of the low end out of that reverb or delay, it'll kind of help it to sit in a higher area, a higher frequency range in the mix, just so it kind of, I don't know, glues together. I'll give that a shot. Cool. That works a little bit better than before. I'll do a little before and after. The before was just my normal rhythm patch that I threw a cocked wah on, and then this one is kind of one that I really messed with. Threw a fuzz on there, threw an octave on there, just to show what that's like. So that tape delay kind of helps it meld in with everything a little bit better. The octave thickens it up because otherwise it kind of just sounds like a single guitar part alone. And the point of this isn't as much to sound like a guitar as much as it does just a texture. Sorry for leaving my mic on there for a minute, but now I think what I want to do is I want to make this bass kind of disappear into space at the end, because there's a very emphatic snare flam at the end of this fill going into the riff. And if the bass is just kind of repeating off into its own world, and kind of still living in that low end, it doesn't really build into that big impact as much when the kick drum and the bass guitar come in with the awesome riff that comes right after. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is mess with this ending a little bit, make it fade out a little bit on this, the synth bass here. So even though it goes into the delay there, the bass cuts off and the delay is a little bit higher, I still want a little bit of low end removal just to kind of fit everything together. Again, I can't tell if you guys can see my cursor, and it depends on how the screen that you're looking at, but what I want to look at is kind of this section and pull some low end out there, maybe add some distortion, or maybe just increase the mix on the delay to make it work a bit better to glue the sections together. Because right now I think it works, but it could definitely kind of thin out a little bit before everything kind of slaps together. I think arrangement wise, I think I have almost all the pieces that I want for this particular section, but it's just going to be a matter of helping it kind of thin out before the riff comes back in. Got to do some track maintenance here because everything's getting fed up to this master bus and I want to mess with this. So just 1 second as I clean house. So I think I'm kind of finding the peak point that I want for this high pass filter. I kind of want to have it sweep up to around 900 hertz or so. So I'll do that through automation here. So I'm just going to add on a frequency automation for that high pass. And since that's the point that's set, I kind of want it to go up to there, and then just... I'm okay with it building for maybe 2 measures or so. We'll see how that sounds and alter it if needed. So I think that feels a little bit too sudden around the midpoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to alter the point shape here, change that up. If you use Reaper, this is a helpful little tip for the envelopes. But fast end, should have changed it. Oh, maybe I selected the wrong one. Select shape for selected points, fast end. So that's going to kind of make it a log curve there. We'll see how that works. I think that's moving in the way that I want it to. I'll just play this whole section through again, just to show you guys where we're at. So that's kind of the feel of the section so far. I got a couple other ideas that I want to add to this middle section. It still feels really sudden when the acoustic drums drop out. It's still feeling really sudden. That shift, at least when listening in full context of the song, is still a very sudden dropout. So I think one other thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to add another reverse, but in this case, I'm going to take a look at my acoustic cymbal samples. So like a reverse crash, a reverse china, something bright to kind of fill up the high end, which will make it a very sudden transition, but will kind of help emphasize the entrance in there. So I'm going to dig through my samples real quick and see what we got. I think that fits there very nicely. Is going to help define that. I'll probably still work towards adding more layers in this section just to help fill it out. Probably another trem layer to have some step type volume going on along with the step type filter that's happening. But I'm feeling really happy, and I think got a lot done here on stream today. But I'll go ahead and end it now. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching on demand, really appreciate you checking it out. I'll be streaming kind of whenever I get ideas like this. I'll just be popping on. So make sure, I think I'm on Twitch, YouTube, and then also on my personal Facebook page. But streaming quality tends to be best on Twitch for whatever reason. I still haven't dug into what the settings and everything or why that is. But wherever you're watching, thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll see you guys next time.